You are listening to the TV Obsessive podcast, brought to you by TVObsessive.com.
Okay, welcome back to episode 119 of the TV Obsessive podcast. My name is Ryan Kirksey, writer and contributor for TVObsessive.com, and joined once again by Cameron Crane, executive editor for the site. We've finally reached September. It's a good month. It's a good time of the year. How are we doing today, Cameron?
Doing pretty well, Ryan. It's September 3rd already somehow. I'm fairly happy about. I like fall.
Me too.
Fall might be my favorite. It has felt to me for the past, I don't know how many years, that sometimes we don't quite get fall. I don't know how it is there in Texas, but sometimes it feels like it goes from summer to winter
Yeah.
almost. So hopefully we get some good. I want jacket weather. That's what I'm
Yeah.
asking
Yeah.
for. I want the kind of day where I think, well, maybe I want a cardigan when I go out. But that'll be sufficient.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to continue talking about Alien Earth. We're up to episode 5 this week. Hopefully, people have watched it. It's quite an episode, getting a lot of buzz out there in the world as well. So if you haven't seen it yet, be careful out there.
Yeah.
But hopefully you have, and we'll get into that with spoilers in the latter part of the pod. What else have you been watching this week, Ryan?
Yeah, I decided finally to check out a few things that kept coming across my radar. I've noticed just what must be an intentional strategy. Netflix really going all in on sort of the documentary pieces that they've been producing lately. They've had this whole series called Trainwreck, which is where the poop cruise thing came from, and all these other just sort of short documentaries about disasters that have happened. And so there are three that have come out that I've started all of them, finished none of them, but kind of crossed the Venn diagram of things I'm interested in. First of all was the Cowboys documentary about the Jerry Jones 1990s Cowboys. Started that one. That's just, after the train wreck of what happened with that team this week, just was an interesting watch to sort of see the really I think championship beginnings of this organization. And then it's been 20 years since Hurricane Katrina. There's a new documentary out about that. That was sort of a local thing to us here 2 decades ago. And then my wife and I used to watch The Biggest Loser together, and so they have a whole documentary now about the behind the scenes called Fit for TV, which is kind of just the disastrous look at how that show really was and how they
Mm.
treated people. And it just started all of them, finished none of them, but they're just really going all in on documentaries. And so far, I find all of them very interesting.
Are you telling me that the show about trying to force people to lose weight was
Yeah,
maybe abusive to some degree or
yeah,
something?
yeah. I'm sure you're
That's
shocked to hear that.
that's
Yeah.
absolutely shocking. Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to check some of this stuff out. I saw some other people talking about the Katrina documentary. And it was weird because I was like thinking back to when that happened.
Hmm.
And one of the things I think is kind of interesting to me, at least, is I have such concrete memories of it. I mean, and it was entirely different because it wasn't like, I don't know, now I imagine finding out through social media or something like that,
Hmm.
but it wasn't like that in 2005. And I almost don't even know exactly how we found out,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
however that went had this kind of, it felt more visceral, it had more of an impact. I just concretely remember the fact that I was a teaching assistant. I'd started grad school in like 2004, and being in the auditorium where the main professor was going to give a lecture, and everyone just being like, oh man, what's going on the Gulf Coast is so
Yeah.
horrible. But we didn't have a lot of information yet.
Yeah.
Hard to
You can
believe it's been 20
imagine.
years.
As we were, I live on the Gulf of Mexico, and I mean, I remember 20 years ago, with the apps, social media, I'm sure it would have been all over social media. But you could not turn on anything that was not coverage of Katrina and what was happening there. I mean, obviously, this is for those that don't remember. This was the result of New Orleans just being flooded, completely underwater. This is where we got the famous, I guess now infamous fundraiser with Michael Myers and Kanye West, and all that happened. Just so many cultural moments, but I mean, really just disastrous. And I think one of the points of this documentary as we go through it is, uh, have we really learned lessons and implemented what we need to since then? And the answer is probably no. We've just been lucky that this hasn't happened again.
Yeah, probably no. And then, I mean, I guess that's the other thing I was thinking about is I know Katrina was like particularly bad, but there have been some other things that have been pretty bad. And I don't
Yeah,
feel like they've even, I don't know, man. I almost feel like culturally they we're almost like forgetting these things quicker.
yeah,
And like I'm pretty sure people in like Asheville, South Carolina are still struggling from what happened there, you
that's
know,
right.
last year, or it was last year, right? But it's like no, it just feels like no one talks about it in the same sort of way at all. So
Yeah.
um
No, just all very interesting. I kind of lean more towards these sort of historical documentaries looking back at what happened and things we take from it. So that one kind of has caught my attention the most. But they, like I said, they're just going all in. I find all of them to be pretty well done.
well, and it has the Cowboys one. Let me ask you this. You can say as much as or as little as you want. How do you feel about Jerry Jones?
I think I have so many Cowboys fans in my life being here in Texas. Just consider him an absolute and complete clown, and that he cares more about how much he's on TV than how much his team is winning. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we had the whole Micah Parsons trade,
Yeah.
this past week and all of that. And so, but is this documentary? Does it feel like propaganda for Jerry Jones, or does it have more of a critical edge to it, or
I
like
wouldn't
is
say a
Jerry
critical
Jones
edge.
happy about this
No.
documentary thing?
He's happy with any notoriety publicity that the Cowboys get. It's more of a sort of an inside look of those '90s teams and how a lot about Jimmy Johnson, how hard he was on them, a lot about how Jerry Jones built the teams. So in that way, he looks good. I don't found much in terms of a critical
Yeah.
perspective on it so far.
Well, because there was the whole falling out or whatever you want to call it with Jimmy
Yeah,
Johnson, right? And um, I don't know. I think maybe they've made up at least publicly, but
yeah, I think so.
my understanding is it's pretty like fractious for a long time. Cool. Yeah, as I was telling you before we got on, I haven't really watched anything this week of note. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Stuff that I've mentioned on the podcast before, perhaps things like this. Going along on Invasion, on Foundation, which is nearing the end of its third season. Really been enjoying that one. Watching Alien Earth, and then other random stuff. So, um, and then we've got football coming back here.
Yeah,
Wait,
that's
tomorrow?
about to take up a lot of our time coming up.
It's
Yeah.
tomorrow?
Yes, it is.
And then there's a game on Friday
Right,
that's
right.
on YouTube.
The Brazil
What?
game. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to watch that. I've switched from YouTube TV to Fubo for my main just sort of network
Nope.
content. So I don't
Now,
think
what I have heard is that the game that's on YouTube on Friday will be free. That
even if
any
you don't have YouTube Premium, it's just free
correct.
to anyone. Okay,
That's
interesting.
what I mean. Look, I don't have a source at the ready, so apologies to anyone listening if I just like happen to be wrong about that, or to you, Ryan. Yeah, if I happen to be wrong. But I have heard it said that this game, all you have to do is go to youtube.com and you can watch the game. You don't have to
Okay.
have YouTube Premium or anything. Um,
Well, there you go. I
I don't
hope
know if
that's
that's true because I don't have YouTube Premium either.
yeah.
I've got the NFL.
I'm not paying $20 for 1 month of YouTube Premium just for one game.
I have the NFL Plus thing, and it may or may not be on there also.
I see. Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it was really weird with the. I used that a bit for some of the preseason games, and most of them were on there. But then a couple of them, they were like, "Oh no, this is a nationally televised game. This is on
Yeah.
ESPN. Sorry." So I don't know.
Do you know that I believe this now makes 7 networks/streamers that the NFL is on if you want to see every game? I mean, again, if it is just free on YouTube, I guess you don't have to subscribe to anything, but this would make the seventh platform that NFL is on over the past year.
Yeah, it's there's interesting stuff in the background. I don't know that it'll ever come to a head in a way that will force them to change. It's just interesting to know
Yeah,
that in the background of all of this is like a very specific legal decision that exempts the NFL from antitrust laws.
exactly.
And it's just like if they if they mess around too much, they might find out that, if people aren't aware, and we'll move on, people don't necessarily care who are listening to a TV podcast, but this is about TV. It has to do with the fact that technically speaking, each NFL team is its own business, right?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
for them to be able to do all these deals as a league, it's like it would be an antitrust violation, except for this decision going back to the 1960s or something, saying,
Yeah.
they're like, no, it's fine with these caveats, though, like about it being available for free on broadcast television and stuff like that. So, to the extent that they're messing with that and saying, oh, well, this game's on a streaming service you have to pay for, the more they do that, the more potentially someone might say, like, hey, maybe we should revisit
Yeah, exactly.
the law on this. So, anyhow, move forward. We got a few things catching our eye in the news, some upcoming shows. Um, I don't know that there's a lot to talk about with any of them in particular. Where would you like to start, Ryan?
Well, maybe just segue out of football into Chad Powers. I think recently, over the past, I guess the college football weekend, they released a formal trailer with Glenn Powell starring as Chad Powers coming up the end of this month on Hulu. I checked this out. I've read some into it. I, it's a short season that's coming out, maybe just 5 or 6 episodes. I don't know. I just after watching, I'm just not sold on this, and still kind of curious why Glenn Powell is doing this, other than somebody wrote him a big check, maybe.
Yeah, I'm not really sold on it either. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, it's very much striking me along the lines of when they tried to make a sitcom based on the Caveman Geico commercial.
Yeah, that's a very good analogy. Yeah.
It's like good luck, I guess. We'll see though. Like maybe it'll land and it'll get buzz and people will like it and everything else. But um, yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Also, how this House of Guinness show is coming pretty soon. Yeah, September 25th. This had kind of escaped my radar a little bit until you mentioned it, Ryan. You excited about this one?
Yeah, coming on Netflix. And the reason why I think that this caught my eye is it just keeps being promoted as from the creators of Peaky Blinders. I watched Peaky Blinders, love that show. Really loved what they did with that and Cillian Murphy and that whole crew. This looks interesting about I guess it's sort of a succession-esque. The father founder of the Guinness Brewing Company dies. There are 4 or 5 children that are left behind to fight over, this empire. Trailer looks good, looks interesting. I love period pieces like this. I was kind of strangely hoping before I watched the trailer that Peaky Blinders is real gritty and dirty and kind of really puts you in that. This seemed a lot more flashy to me.
Yeah.
And so, but I don't want to hold it against it. I probably will check it out, but just notice that as I checked out this trailer for show coming just about a month from now.
Yeah, it does look relatively polished, if that's the
Yeah.
right word. I have no idea how historically accurate it will be. This is not something I was really aware of in terms of
Yeah.
there being conflict and violence
Right.
after the death of the Guinness patriarch in 1868 or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just not something I'm aware of. So
No one around to
um,
just dispute what they're doing, I guess. You can you can say whatever you want.
I'm sure there's at least some historical basis here. They're not
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
making everything up out of thin air. But from the trailer, I mean, it does really kind of look like, oh, it's going to go down,
That's
with
right.
the and yeah, I mean, if this is something that you're into, I definitely think it looks pretty good. I might check it out myself. Um, I never got into Peaky Blinders. Everyone says I should watch Peaky Blinders.
I
Everyone
just
says
think
it's great.
it's a really good story. The performances and the set design and the production design is really incredible. I mean, they did a very good job of placing you in that world. I think that's part of the reason why I liked it so much.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's one of those. I actually put it on at one point, and this was maybe 10 years ago. I mean, who
Yeah.
knows at this point? People were saying, "Oh, you should watch Peaky Blinders." It was one of those things where I pressed play, and made it through about 5 minutes. I was like, I'm not in the mood for this right now.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
then I never went back to it. And just for years and years, everyone's like, Peaky Blinders is really good. And I don't know if it's just like stuck in my mind that I was like a little bit bored for 5 minutes or something.
Right,
It's the
right.
beginning of the show. What do you expect?
It takes a little bit to
Yeah.
get going. I mean, you got to introduce the world, the characters, all this, and it's. I mean, just I had to eventually after 6 or 7 episodes. I do this all the time now, anyways, because I'm old, but had to turn on the subtitles. Like I just could not get with
Oh yeah.
accents what they were saying. So
Yeah. But I generally watch things with subtitles anyway. And
yeah,
I actually get well, angry would be too strong of a term.
yeah,
But when whatever I'm using has the closed captions as opposed to subtitles, you know what I mean? Where
yeah,
it's like a
yeah.
black box with blocky text in it.
Right.
I don't like that so much. I want integrated, subtitles like when you're
Yes.
watching a foreign film. Anyhow,
Yeah.
it is my understanding that like more and more people like use subtitles all the time. So
That's exactly
I'm
right. Yeah.
I'm becoming less weird as time goes. Because seriously, I've done this for at least 25 years, where I generally have subtitles on if they're available. Are you excited for Marvel Zombies?
Okay,
It's
so
up your alley.
you put this on our sheet, and I'm very excited. I'm very happy you did this. So my son and I were actually talking about this last night. We were looking into this. My son is very excited about this. I will likely watch this. I assume you're not familiar with the late aughts Marvel Zombies comic line that came out, right? Sort of part of the whole zombie craze that started at the end of that decade. This is to me, and I guess to 13-year-olds as well, is a very interesting concept of, what happened if our superheroes sort of became zombified, and what would that look like? What would that role look like? So it's a pretty dark, graphic, gory show that they're going to put out. I enjoyed reading some of this stuff, so I'll likely check it out. But this is I don't think this is going to be like canon, or you must watch it if you're a movie completionist. This is just more of the kind of like the what if episode, just sort of some
Hmm.
cool ancillary content based on the storyline they had in the comics.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the trailer. It looked fun.
Yeah,
It's not necessarily the kind of thing that's up my alley, at this point. But I could see watching it and enjoying it. It definitely looks like there'll be some humor involved and
yes,
all of
yes.
that kind of thing. And no, I was not aware that there was a line where superheroes became zombies. That's what
Yeah.
it is? Okay.
But yes, yeah. I mean, they had to capitalize on the whole craze, back around 2008, 2009 when all that stuff was happening. So, yeah, it was a run, and they've done it periodically since then. But yeah, it stems from the a run of books in the late aughts, I think.
Cool. And do we have a date on this? I didn't put it on the sheet.
Yeah, this is coming
Um,
very soon, I think. Yeah, September 24th.
yeah, September 24th. Okay. So if people want to check that out, coming in October, we've got the next installment of Monster,
Hmm.
with it's going to focus on Ed Gein this time. October 3rd, starring Charlie Hunnam, who you may be familiar with from Sons of Anarchy, or you may be familiar with from Queer as Folk,
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
um, potentially. I don't know. I haven't watched any of these, but I know they've gotten a lot of buzz. Thoughts about this one, Ryan?
Yeah, I will. I believe I've watched all of the Jeffrey Dahmer season. I am a big fan of Charlie Hunnam, so I will be watching this one. I mean, this is sort of perfect October spooky season Halloween show, I think, to get into. Just looks creepy. The story, I've been reading a little bit into it, is just horrific, and yeah, I think this will definitely be on my list for October.
Yeah, maybe I'll get around to these. I've never been a huge serial killer guy.
Yeah, yeah.
One of my friends, one of my high school friends, I recall in particular, like back when we were in high school, was like really into serial killers. Which don't worry, he's actually like the nicest, most well-adjusted guy that I know, and he's like a nurse now, all of this
Yeah,
kind of thing. But never really grabbed me in the same sort of way. I guess I get the fascination, but it's also at the
yeah.
same time, um, I don't know what my worry is. Almost maybe about glamorizing or
Yeah,
something,
yeah. I know that's the criticism certainly of the true crime explosion podcast. These sort of glorifications of a lot of this. Yeah, that's absolutely it.
Yeah, something like that, which I wouldn't make as a big criticism. I'm not going to yell at people for watching this or being interested in it or anything. And yeah, with Charlie Hunnam. Did you watch Sons of Anarchy?
Oh yeah, love Sons of Anarchy. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, the end was bad, but who cares?
yeah.
Let's see. I remember you. I have still haven't gotten around to checking this one out. I remember you watched at least some of it. Bad Monkey on Apple TV Plus. I just thought it was noteworthy. Apparently, John Malkovich is going to be in season 2. I love John Malkovich. Maybe this will motivate me to finally put this one on my screen.
Yeah, I went back and looked. I could not finish this first season.
No,
I do. I am a little bit intrigued to go back and try to do it if there's going to be a season with John Malkovich. There were, it needed one of two things. And either needed a mystery in it that was really compelling, which I didn't think it had, or it needed sort of Vince Vaughn to be more Vince Vaughnish, and it didn't have that
or more
either.
of it.
And so, just after 3 or 4, I think I gave it up.
I thought you might be about to say that he was too Vince Vaughnish.
No, no,
You're saying
no.
he's not enough Vince Vaughn. He's got to get up on the table more. And I still always think of Swingers first with Vince
Yeah,
Vaughn
yeah,
personally.
yeah.
Um, but interesting. Okay, I do like John Malkovich though. So
Yeah. That's might be motivation to maybe to at least watch that. I don't know that these will connect anyway. Maybe just watch season 2.
yeah. Okay, you want to talk about Saturday Night Live and people
Yeah, this
leaving
is just
Saturday Night
a
Live and all of this?
quick note. 1 month from now, the new season will premiere, season 51, which is, I mean, noteworthy that we're now moving past the 50th anniversary. We also will have the 1000th episode of Saturday Night Live coming up in this season, which they're going to again try to make a big deal out of. But I've been an apologist for sort of this current cast of Saturday Night Live. One of the people I particularly liked was Heidi Gardner, but after 8 years, she is headed out along with Michael Longfellow, Neil Joaquin, and Devin Walker. In their place will come 5 new folks, not household names at all. One of the female they're bringing in has a really large social media base. Ben Marshall is part of the sketch team of Please Don't Destroy, which has been around for a few years. So again, no commentary on who these people are or how they'll do because we'll have to see. Some of my favorites still remain from Saturday Night Live. I know there are a lot of people that have criticism about the show and sort of where it's gone lately, but this was apparently the biggest shakeup of the cast in about 3 or 4 years. So the other folks I can take or leave. Heidi Gardner, I'm disappointed she won't be on anymore, but she was there for a long stretch.
Indeed, yeah. I mean, I haven't kept up. I feel like you watch SNL more than I do. I'll catch clips here or there.
Yeah.
It really is interesting that it's gone on for as long as it has, and it kind of I think everyone would agree that it has ups and downs,
Yes.
has eras where it was great in other areas where people would probably say it was bad generally, and then maybe
Yeah.
others would defend, the bad times or whatever anyway. But yeah, interesting. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
the new blood
You
will be
you
good.
you and I really are benefited from sort of coming of age in the late 80s, early, really what was considered the golden era, and being exposed to it. I think it just grabbed me so much at that, impressionable age of 12, 13, 14 years old that just kept up with it as much as I can. It certainly is not that level right now. But I
Mhm.
do enjoy some of the stuff they still do. Interestingly, Heidi Gardner, there's some thought of there that her career sort of as an actress, and what she'll do from here is kind of exploded because she got so much publicity after this. Surely you remember the Beavis and Butthead sketch with Ryan Gosling and how she just, she was just everywhere because she couldn't control herself because she was just lost it in the middle of this sketch, and she's just actually sort of become very real, and a lot of people sort of want some exposure to her now, and so she sort of has developed a career since then. So good for her.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't want to give her a hard time or too hard of a time, or like I don't want to give like Jimmy Fallon too hard of a time. But it's
Yeah,
interesting to me how it's like these certain people are getting what acclaim for
yeah,
being
yeah.
kind of bad at their jobs. You know what I mean? Because it's like if you're a professional, comedian, you shouldn't break, right?
That's right.
Like, isn't that
They
part of the
get the
professionalism
impression
to
of
not
yeah,
break?
they get the reputation of being more real, I guess. Like
Yeah,
oh
like
yeah, that's exactly what how I would respond to it as well.
the authenticity of it,
Yeah.
or whatever. I do recall, as something of an aside, reading this interview with JB Smoove about when he came on Curb Your Enthusiasm, and of course, on Curb there was some encouragement to do at least some
Mhm.
improvisation and some Mad Lib. And he was telling the story about Larry David just couldn't keep it together, and it was like they had to have him off camera because of how he just couldn't stop laughing at JB's move. In particular, I forget now, but it was a particular thing, and to the extent that I'm remembering, maybe like not exactly safe for work.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but okay. Well, you ready to talk about Alien?
Yeah, I'd love to. Let's do it.
All right, so we're up to season 1, episode 5 of Alien Earth. The title is In Space, No One. Dot dot dot. We'll put in a little bit of music here. Spoilers then will be on the table for everything in Alien Earth through episode 5. We'll be back with you in just about 10 seconds.
Okay, we're back to talk about Alien Earth, Season 1, Episode 5, titled In Space, No One. This episode is all Noah Hawley, written and directed by Noah Hawley. 17 days before the USS Maginot crashes into Prodigy territory, a fire breaks out and several aliens escape containment on the ship. Security Officer Morrow is awakened after 2 crew members are found with the facehuggers attached to them. While Morrow investigates, one of the liege aliens escapes the lab and lays its eggs inside a water bottle, which engineering apprentice Malachite drinks. Soon after, he dies, and then the creatures also kill the 2 doctors that are working on him. The Oculus, the eye alien, is also able to escape containment after Chibuzo does not secure it. It eventually affects Shmuel, the engineer, killing him as well. Morrow discovers through some recovered communication files that engineer Petrovich sabotaged the ship after Boy Cavalier promised to make him rich. Morrow does confront him about this and eventually does kill Petrovich. Meanwhile, after one of the crew members is placed in cryosleep to try and kill the facehugger, the xenomorph hatches from his body and escapes. It kills Tang, it kills Captain Zaveri, but going back to what we saw in episode 1, Morrow is able to safely hide in the impact room while waiting for the ship to crash. And then in a brief moment in the present, Morrow meets with Yutani, offers to capture all the specimens and kill Boy Cavalier if their planned arbitration meeting with lawyers does not go as planned. Um, I must say, I loved this episode. But you put a very interesting question in our document here, which is, despite how great it might be, was it a necessary episode? So I thought maybe we would start there to get your general thoughts on it, and if you thought it was a necessary sort of break here in the middle as we go through this story.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about this in part because I recall back when we were talking about the premiere, I think I even said, um, I'm glad they just gave us quick cuts. We don't need more than that, or something like that. I remember
Hmm.
exactly how I put it. At the same time, love the stuff here on the Magno. We've got good
Yeah.
characters. It's compelling. We've got this episode really, I've seen some people referring to it as a mini alien film. I almost don't even know about mini. You know what I mean? Like, you take this episode, which is a good hour, you throw in the stuff from episode 1 we got at the beginning, you're getting pretty close to feature length
Yeah.
already. And so it's, yeah, I mean, I don't know what you think about this, but on the one hand, to start with the positive, I guess, if you view this as an alien film,
Right.
I'd rank it pretty high.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was
100% right. Yes.
like
Yes.
potentially like the third best alien film in my mind. Yeah.
Now, I must say, I did want to, after this episode, make a point to listen to the official podcast for the show, which I did,
Okay.
which has Noah Hawley on it for about 8 minutes at the beginning. And these 8 minutes, I mean, are must listen to sort of hear his definition of why he's doing this, what this means to him, what the intention is in this show. And basically he says, I did this, this was not originally part of the show. I did this because I wanted to make an alien movie. And this was my opportunity to do it. So there we go.
Interesting. Because I almost wondered if it was the other way around.
Yeah.
I'll have to listen to that podcast when I get a chance. But I find myself wondering, like, did they start out where this was going to be the first episode, and then someone said, maybe we're taking too long to get to our main characters?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And but that's interesting if it's not the case, and it was really just that he wanted to make an alien film. Fair enough. And again, I think it was good. And to the question of whether it was necessary,
Yeah.
I guess what I want to say ultimately is no, but I don't care.
Yes, you and I are complete lockstep with this. I think my answer would have been yes if we had any more explanation as to why they were going to capture these things. What was the purpose of Yutani wanting them other than just, we want to study it. This is a biological mission to bring things back so we can look and see what's going on. I don't really got much more than that. I was fascinated by what happened in this episode, and I thought some of the things that were revealed were interesting in terms of backstory of Moro and other stuff. But yeah, in terms of do we need it to continue with where we're going in the story, it doesn't exactly seem like we did, but I am definitely not mad that we got it.
Right. So, like in narrative terms and plot terms is what we mean, if this isn't clear to people listening, right? I mean,
Yeah,
is it really moving the plot forward? Is it even really giving us information that we could only get in this way? I mean,
right.
I guess the one thing would be in that scene where Petrovich is talking to Boy Cavalier through the comms, um, insofar as that's telling us that, oh, actually Boy Cavalier was sabotaging the ship. He wanted it. He knew about it beforehand, and that is kind of new information. Although it's interesting, someone in our YouTube comments a couple of weeks ago said something like this as though it was fact, and I was like, well, where are you getting that from? So
Hmm.
I don't know if they were leaking things they shouldn't have been leaking or
Yeah,
what was going on
could have
there.
been.
Um, but I'll have to revisit that comment when I get a chance to see what it says. But I mean, and I also did think it was interesting that, like you said in your summary, Boy Cavalier is promising to make Petrovich rich, which is true, I think. They also talk about, like, apparently Petrovich wants to become a hybrid.
Yeah,
Boy
yeah. He wants to
Cavalier's,
live forever, give all this money. Yeah, that's you boy Cavalier, you can do that now, right? I think that's his question.
yeah, and Boy Cavalier basically says, yeah, we'll do that for you. Which is
Yeah,
interesting because we've been previously told they can only do it with children.
yeah,
But I recall at the time there questioning whether that was true,
yeah,
or whether they're moving in the direction of wanting to make it available to adults.
yeah,
This kind of indicates that maybe they are. At the same time, maybe he's just lying.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, so okay, like in narrative terms, there's that. But certainly, like even if you wanted that information in the show, you could have gotten it in there some other way or much more quickly or something like
yeah.
this.
There is some way where that could have become uncovered, even a conversation with Boy and some of his, Kirsch and others that are there. I've see people talk about how this was actually teased in the first episode when Moro is off the ship and he's now sort of hunting for the xenomorph as well in the pilot, and he mentions that he's going to find and kill Boy Cavaliers. How would he know who that is, or why is he looking for him to kill him? Okay, well, this is the reason why. So yeah, we could have uncovered that other ways.
You
But
could
this
have
was a
even had
way
Morrow
to do it.
finding that exact footage in some
Yeah,
other way now that he's back on Earth. You know what I
right,
mean?
exactly,
But
exactly.
I
Or
don't. I'm
downloading it
not.
and watching it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I'm not suggesting that would have been better or
right,
anything like
right.
that. Um, what I think is interesting, I'll be curious to kind of keep an eye on the reactions to this episode in the world because it does seem like, in a lot of contexts, you will find people complaining about things being unnecessary to the plot or something like
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
Well, I kind of think here we have an entire episode of television that is unnecessary to the plot, but it's great.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And part of what I love about television is that you can do this sort of thing. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? So um to people listening, I don't want them to think that I personally am complaining about it being unnecessary, like I wish they hadn't done it or something.
Yeah.
Um, I think that even if it's not necessary in those sort of plot terms, I'm really glad that we have it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you and I are I think in complete agreement on this. If it was a choice between it being 7 episodes or being 8 episodes and having this included, I would prefer to have 8 episodes with this included.
Yeah, well, absolutely, absolutely. And but then it's kind of weird because, right, what we do here on the podcast, we talk through what happens in these episodes, and what do we need to talk about here? Because
Yeah.
what connects up in ways that matter to the rest
Yeah.
of the season. Um,
Yeah.
one thing that stood out to me, and I don't know if you have any thoughts about this, but it seems like they already know what xenomorphs are. And I don't know, does that make sense? That they
Yeah, it
would know
seems
what a xenomorph
seems
is?
like Moro, seems like Zaveri, seems like maybe even a couple of others understand what's happening or what could happen. Although
That
some of them seem
mm,
like they've never seen a facehugger before and don't, they're surprised by the acid blood and all of this stuff. But I'm just not sure if who and how they were prepared for this, or if only certain people were sort of given this information, or if we're just sort of drawing into that. But it did seem like they understood something about them.
yeah, I'm like I kind of hope that the show gives us a little bit more here to work with because it just stood out to me as or just stood out to me. And it did in a previous week too, when Kirsch used the term xenomorph in a
Mm,
previous episode. It's like,
yep.
all right, they already have the term. Or at that point, I was wondering if Kirsch was coining the term,
Hmm.
but now it's being used here. Well, at the same time, as I think you were noting, they don't actually seem to understand how the things work. They don't understand how the face huggers work, you know. But then once it has burst out of what's his name's chest, there's this line where I think it's Davari who says like, "It's a xenomorph,"
Yeah. Yeah.
like they know what that is, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So how thinking about how this is supposed to fit in the timeline, even from what we've been told, I don't know how. I don't know if that tracks. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, we are, as we know, it's been made quite clear this show. We are the events here a couple years before the events of the Alien movie. So it's not
Yeah,
like that has predated us to define what these are, and that's been communicated somehow. So yeah, the fact that these are labeled, named, so someone somewhere knows this, and has identified this somehow, but how important that is to what they do here and what impact it has, not real sure. It just seems like most people are pretty clueless, other than these are some nasty aliens that was with someone somewhere is called xenomorphs.
right. Even though she says that, she also asks something like, "Wait, how big do these things get?"
Yeah,
There's some oddness in there.
yeah.
I don't know. I
This
do kind of hope
was
they fill it
this
in somehow.
this was both I think a praise and a slight complaint on my end. I think I talked maybe in the first episode. I certainly appreciated the lack of CGI xenomorph in this. I mean, there's some aliens where you have to do it, right? The eye alien and the leeches and all those other things. But I mean, the xenomorph is clearly a guy in a suit, and he's running around and very athletic, very acrobatic, and do all the stuff that's good. But I mean, Ripley in Alien 2 is like battling this thing with this huge monstrosity of like the robot thing that's used to pick up heavy. I mean, they're much bigger, much scarier in these movies, and this just seemed like a guy running around in a suit. Just didn't quite get me on the scare factor.
Yeah, and did it strike you as a little bit more upright
Yes,
than they usually
yes.
are?
And now
Yeah,
maybe it's because it's like 6 hours old. I don't know, but
right.
things grow quickly, so that could be it.
I mean, there is an interesting way in which these things look slightly different in like each film and
Yeah.
stuff too. So You just got to roll with it at some level, or
Yeah,
or you could, if you want an explanation, say, well, human beings look different too.
that's this is true. In the end, I'm glad it's not a, just sort of take me out of it CGI fest.
I enjoyed the eye octopus. I enjoyed that we got to see it in a human being, which I had
Hmm.
imagined as horrifying and was indeed horrifying. And then it fights the xenomorph,
It
which,
does. Yeah, I tried to bite its neck. Yeah.
yeah, the xenomorph doesn't have eyes, right?
No, not that I can tell. I mean, it's just clearly defending itself by stabbing the thing with its tail over and over again. So
Yeah,
pretty quickly dispose of it. But I did like kind of um the reference or callback maybe to last episode, when it goes into the sheep and they're talking about how intelligent it must be and how it has these problem solving skills. And then we see it with intelligence and problem solving skills as it figures out a way to escape and distract Chibuzo so the other thing can escape. I just found that very, very fascinating.
yeah, that was all cool. And then, I wondered if it would be able to talk once it was in Shmuel, and apparently not.
Yeah.
So, or maybe it would have figured it out if it had sufficient time how to manipulate his vocal cords. There's room to let your imagination go around some of that stuff still. You've got the leech slug tick things.
Yeah. So that
I,
that what was in the water bottle and then goes into malachite? Is that I want to make sure I have that correct. Those are the ones that got in his insides or digested or latched on his digestive system.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
Okay. Okay.
They seem to show greater intelligence than you might have thought as well.
Yeah.
So we are learning more about these other species from this
Hmm.
episode in ways that could be relevant moving forward. Particularly with these guys, the fact that it's smart enough to, unlatch the canister, get out of it, and then deposit all these little tadpole babies in her water.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they got some of those on Earth now at the Prodigy Lab. Um, are they going to do anything?
Yeah.
And also it seemed like it kind of seems in retrospect like the Prodigy team didn't find enough of those things, given what we saw here.
Yeah, so I tried to do a quick, sort of freeze frame and check on this. So apart from the two face huggers that broke containment, there are when they say, "Oh, here's look, you can see all the green that are locked up, they're all fine." There are 14 different uh cages or however you want to describe it that are shown to be locked in containment. So in addition to the two facehuggers which escaped, there's at least 14 others. I think we've only counted five total species now that we've been in the prodigy lab. So there may be more still to come.
Yeah, which that's interesting. We'll see what happens with that. Um, One that we have seen hasn't really done anything. The flora fauna, the one that Chris
Yeah.
said.
That we have not we saw it again very briefly in this episode, but have not seen anything about what it does or what it's capable of. So I can only guess that that's that that's coming. Why would you just tease this thing? But it's going to probably have someone meet a very gruesome death at some point down the line.
Yeah, it's going to do something. Um, any thoughts about Tang? Is he just a creep?
We
Is that all
have
that's going on here?
there's like two short scenes with this guy. One of them is him, you know, ogling one of the crew who's in cryo sleep and, pretend like he's rubbing up against her. The other is just a very, very I don't know, just conversation he has with Moro where it almost seems like he knows about Petrovich, and maybe it is he's sneaking in there in the cryo sleep chamber to see these things. So maybe he's seen Petrovich sort of come in and out. So maybe he does know. But yeah, just the way he interacted with Moro, man, this guy is just a complete and utter creep.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of made the inference that he has either seen Petrovich
Hmm.
doing this, getting out of his cryopod, or like noticed that the cryopod was empty when it shouldn't have been,
Right.
and just didn't say anything.
Yeah,
you know?
because he's a disgusting person. Yes.
Yeah, because he's just some weird psychopath or something, you know. But definitely a compelling character,
Oh
I
yeah.
thought. And really all of these people are, we don't some of them are just in the cryopods really from what we see. So um where was I gonna go? Go to this question of thinking about the stupidity at play.
Hmm.
Because there's a good amount of stupidity at play,
Hmm.
right? From cutting the face hugger's tail. Yeah, I like, okay, maybe I see what you're trying to like get it off the guy's face or whatever. You didn't know that it had acid blood. Um, but then, just all the other things that they want to do and how they are handling this
Yeah.
crisis. It's very human,
Hmm.
right? Like that motivation to try to pull the slug leech off of the internal organs of what's the guy's name? Malachite.
Malachite. Yeah. That's the one that bothered me after you watched what the facehuggers did, that you're just going to tell your two doctors, yeah, I think the best idea is for you to open him up out of that chamber and try to operate on him. Go right ahead and do that. Yeah, that just that
Yeah,
screams stupidity to me.
what could possibly go wrong? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But that kind of stupidity that is, I mean, I do think it's very human and it's plausible along those lines. You want to save your friend, or even if he's not really your friend, there's some stuff in there where Shmuel, I think that's his name, it's like he's so young, all of that kind of sentimentality at play.
Mhm.
Um, and there's some other stuff that we could also tie in kind of along these lines of human beings being stupid,
Yeah.
you know. But I wanted to put that in conversation with um these corporations like Wayland Utani and Prodigy, Mother, Morrow, the cyborg, potentially we can think about other things from films and so on and so forth as well. But like the whole idea of what they're trying to do
Mhm.
in getting these alien species and so on. I mean, it's really kind of stupid in a different sort of way. And the term I put on our sheet is hubris, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, I mean, there's a pretty clear theme of, we've seen this in this world, in this universe controlled by corporations, profit over people. Doesn't matter who we have to step on or who we have to hurt to get what we want. Yeah, it's a matter of, I mean, it seems like what all they're trying to do is making sure they have enough people and the right mechanisms in place to get this thing back anywhere close to Earth so we can retrieve these things. It doesn't matter who comes back with it or not. It doesn't matter if these people's families are long gone. It doesn't matter what's the situation when they get back. We don't care if they live or die, as long as we have the right people to just point us in the right direction and get us toward Earth. That's all they really care about.
Right. And then the cargo is the mission.
Yeah.
And, again, that question of why they want these things, which you mentioned earlier, um, power. But this is the hubris, I think, of being arrogantly confident that you'll be able to make use of these things to your advantage in a way that won't come back and bite you. Right.
Exactly. You as the boy cavalier or the Utani that you can control it. These people on the ship, whatever, they're expendable, but you can control it once you have possession of it.
Right. Where it wouldn't be that hard to imagine if these things got loose on Earth, um, you know, a global catastrophe ultimately would not be terribly hard to imagine. When we got it under control, you know. Um, so yeah, something to think about there. Any thoughts about what we see of Morrow and his backstory and his daughter and all of that?
Yeah, it was. So we see that I don't think we ever see any kind of partner, but we see him with a daughter. We see him holding a message that his daughter, 8 years into the mission, has died, and they're keeping her remains for him. He clearly has undergone whatever it is he's undergone to become this cyborg before the mission. Um, but I don't know. It seems like he's having a hard time, or he's just choosing not at all to deal with that, with sort of what he's facing when he comes back home. Eh, uh, But is that what's guiding his mission above all else? I mean, I guess so. He has nothing left. So the promise of how Utani will take care of him and what he has when he comes back just doesn't seem like that's much of a motivation. All that's left for him is just following whatever Utani wants at this point.
Yeah, but I think it's almost more of he's a really interesting character. And I guess I do appreciate how they kind of deepen his character through this episode. And
Hmm.
by
Hmm.
seeing how all of this played out, I may be a little bit more sympathetic to him than I was in the first episode when he was just like
Yeah.
letting Navari die and things like this. Because as we saw it all played out, it was like, oh, well, like all these human beings just keep making these stupid decisions.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I'm going to protect myself and get the cargo back. And even there's a coldness to it, but it seems to me that he has gotten to the point where he just feels like this is his purpose.
Yeah.
Like this is the meaning of his life. I mean, to that sort of degree, um, in a way where it's not about doing this job in order to get some reward or money or even please Utani or whatever, so much as this is the mission I've been assigned, and kind of all he has is that thought of this as his purpose or
Yeah,
something
which I
like that.
which I find interesting because it makes sense if it was a synth or a hybrid that felt that way. But in the end, this is still a human that we're dealing with here. But it's a human that's apparently lost everything and come back to nothing that he knew. And so he is, in a sense, been taken over by Utani and just does everything that they need to fulfill that mission of getting these things. That's all that's left in him.
Yeah, I was thinking about this, and of course, they throw it in there that his daughter has died and so on. So he has no one. So the show can't really play with this in the way I'm about to talk about. But it did kind of get me thinking about that structure of the 65-year mission.
Hmm.
And, okay, you're going to be in cryo sleep for a bit. So you aren't going to age as much. I guess that's how the logic of it works. But I just got thinking about, can you imagine if you went on a space mission in 1960 and came back now?
Today, yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
You would be
I mean, of
freaked
course,
out.
everything here is set in the future, but that would be the time frame if you made it, 65 years in the past for
Yeah,
us.
exactly. I mean, even coming back in that sort of scenario, everything, the world, how it works would be unrecognizable.
Yeah,
It's like Morrow sort of, is able to slide in and out of these places and maneuver. And maybe that's just who he is. He's got those kind of abilities, but it's just, yeah, just how he can manage in this world when he doesn't have anything. And maybe that's part of it. I don't have anything other than being able to track down these things. That's all I know. And so this is not my world. This is not what I left. So this is all I have to do.
yeah. And I do wonder then, like, how different is the world he left from the one he's come back to?
Hmm.
There are some ways the show can play with that more, but it doesn't really feel like it's going to.
Yeah.
And maybe it isn't as severe or whatever in this future world, the 65 years of it all. Like maybe it wasn't as big of a difference. Like the 20th century in particular was, man, I thought about it with my grandma sometimes in terms of when she passed away in 2019, but she was what, like 94.
Hmm.
And just to think about some of these lifespans of, so when I was a kid, there really weren't cars,
Right.
and like I
Right.
remember when TV was invented, it's like mind blowing almost. Whereas here, maybe even when he left, they were more advanced already. But I got to thinking about that a bit. Utani, I did have one more note, and I want to say something about this, but also the aesthetics of her
Mm.
place. I just wanted to note, I love that she's got the cherry trees.
Yeah.
Did you notice that there are guys in the background who are dressed like they're like shoguns?
Yeah, like 16th century shoguns with machine guns. That's what it looked
Yeah,
like?
she got her guards dressed like that. All right, you do you. But one more thing I wanted to hit on, which maybe I should have tied in a little bit earlier, is the fact that Utani in that conversation at the end,
Hmm.
she actually seems pretty content to just let the lawyers handle it in arbitration.
Yeah.
Um,
Which,
any thoughts about that?
I mean, just the ridiculousness of it that I'm sure she has exposure and awareness of the type of person that Boyd Cavalier is. Um, he has said to her that any attempt to retrieve this will be seen as hostile. Okay, we're not going to do that. We'll just do it through the lawyers. I just can't, in this type of world, I can't believe that she actually thinks that. Does she think that that's going to accomplish something? The boy's just going to come with lawyers and we're going to work out a negotiation to hand these things over and it'll all be peaceful. It just, I mean, I think that's why she's preparing and going to activate Moro, but maybe it's all just a ruse at this point just to get them in the room.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It got me thinking about things in a slightly different way, I guess. That
Yeah,
um at how to put this, it got me thinking that for these super rich CEOs or
yeah,
whatever, it's just a game.
yeah. That's
You
right.
know what I mean? Like, and so, hey, our ship that had the stuff on it that we wanted ended up in the hands of one of our competitors, but they don't have a right to it. We
Yeah,
have a right to it. So yeah, let's go to court. You know? So it got me thinking
yeah,
about that. For her, it's more of just a game, whereas for Morrow, it's like this concrete important thing. I actually think he feels like it's more important than she does in a certain way. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's kind of how it
yeah.
landed for me.
I think that he knows what's coming or he expects what's coming. Utani strikes me at least as a more reasonable person than Cavalier. So maybe she's just saying, "We'll take the first step, but we know that to get up the ladder is going to take a lot more escalation of things." Yeah, I don't know. I just have a hard time believing that she actually thinks that this is going to be any way beneficial.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. Um, you know, I'm not suggesting she's against the idea of doing
Right.
it through violence either.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just suggesting that maybe there's something here to think about in terms of a level of detachment amongst the uber rich tech trillionaires in this world. They're trillionaires, right?
Yeah.
Where they're just not experiencing the world in the same way,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
So it's being felt more as a game, more as a competition, right? Where okay, he's like, maybe we're going to lose this round,
Yeah. Yeah.
we'll win the next round, or something like
Yeah.
that. Whereas for Moro, it's kind of like this round
This is
is
it. This
my
is all
life.
there
This
is.
is what it's
That's
about.
right.
So just thinking about that
I
a
think
little
that's
bit
right.
here.
I think that's a great point. Yeah.
Okay, anything else you want to hit on before we wrap up here?
No, I think that covers it. And yeah, just great episode to talk through.
Yeah, really enjoyed it. Again, I would say, ranking alien films. The first one, the second one, then
This one,
this,
yeah.
potentially. It's a really, really, really good episode. Okay, so we'll be back next week for episode 6. Thanks as always for listening to the podcast. If you've enjoyed it, please do leave a good rating, review, all that good stuff. If you're on YouTube, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel. I greatly appreciate it. Check out TVObscessive.com where you can find written work on any number of TV shows, past and present. You can follow the site on social media. If you search for TV Obsessive, you should find us on pretty much all the platforms. I think I have to check on something on Mastodon. Apologies if we disappeared from Mastodon, if we have any Mastodon followers out there. And we'll be back next week.
All right, we'll see you then.